So, welcome back to the ProfileTree podcast. And today we're going to look at how you can future proof your digital presence for your business from your website to your marketing. So, I think many businesses at the minute look at their marketing from a day to day basis, but planning for the future can not only help you improve your productivity, but it's also going to help you meet goals that you've set for your business. So, I guess that's the best place to start is maybe to get your opinions on why future proofing matters for businesses.
Future proofing from like a website standpoint, it really just means like building out your website so it can evolve with like technology, user expectations, and digital platforms without like constantly rebuilding or moving to another platform, basically. The basics of a future proof website really is a site that's fast, mobile first, accessible, and SEO resilient, basically. And that's not like a one you do it once and then that's it, you're set for life. It's something that you do need to continuously work on. And that's either through like audit checks or just using other applications or platforms to kind of track, user behavior on your website. It's a constant process. It's not something that you do that's one and done, basically.
Yeah, I think I would probably agree with you like that in terms of social media as well, because, say, for example, with the algorithms for the different platforms, they're always changing, so you could have, say, for example, a social media marketing strategy right now that maybe has been working for the, say, the past 6 months. Maybe you have a plan to use it for the next 6 months and it could work really well right now. But say a year from now, the algorithm could change, even audience behavior could change, that strategy is not going to work then. So I would agree in the same kind of way for a website is that, say in social media, it's a bit of constant work rather than, like you said, Kadesha, one and done really with it. But Renella, even from like your point of view, what do you think is, meaningful but behind, future proofing?
Well, future proofing, I think it is key. Without your social media, without your website, with all your platforms, then you'll not get anywhere within the future as per se. So, I would say, yeah, you really need to keep on top of with your SEO. A lot of people would miss their, let's just say, their meta titles, their meta descriptions, not knowing the importance and how that's going to affect on your Google Search Console. That's another thing as well. Some people overlook their Google Analytics if you have your website. For socials as well, a lot of people miss out on hashtags, very simple things that people miss out on and don't actually fully understand. Some people think, right, okay, I'm not getting enough engagement here. What exactly is going on? That's the sort of key areas I think you need to do in order to future proof your social media as well as your website or anything else within your business.
Yeah, fully agree with you there. So I guess then the next question would really be, say, for both businesses that maybe have existing, say, an existing website, existing social media platforms, or even marketing strategy, or even those who maybe are just getting started. When it comes to the platforms, what is it that businesses need to prepare? So I guess really, Kanisha, maybe just starting with, like looking at a website, where do you think is the best areas to start preparing there?
Things that have kind of remained constant since, Googles have been scanning websites are things like speed. It's like non-negotiable. People kind of expect your site to load instantly. If it takes even more than 2 seconds, which sounds like not a lot of time, but they're still gone, especially on mobile. It's a big ranking factor for Google. Other things that they need to think about are things like mobile first. It's now becoming the baseline. It used to be, optimizing on desktop and then you looking at mobile after, but majority of web traffic is mobile, and your site just it's not enough to just like make everything small and let it fit. It should be designed for, people's hands, there's small screens from the very start, basically. So prioritizing things like easy navigation, readable fonts, tappable buttons, things like that. All of that you need to it's really just preparing for how users are going to be using your website, and that not just includes like the site itself, but the device that they're using. User experience and SEO kind of need to work together. You can't just rely on one side of that. Technical SEO as well, that comes into play a lot. And it's one of those things where you might not notice it from a user's perspective, for example, site structure, using headings, crawlability, and things like that. But it's something that Google are definitely looking out for, and Google are always looking out for websites. So it's preparing for user expectation, but also preparing for Google's expectation as well.
So it's almost maybe in a way of like, say, for example, when you're building, say, like your website with your audience in mind, you're also needing to almost consider Google as part of that audience.
If you have a good site that's easy to crawl, easy to understand using the content that you have, then it'll just help you find more and more new customers, potential clients on their search engine results pages, and that's ultimately what you want from Google.
Renelle, what about you in terms of like, preparing platforms? Are there any that you have in mind that, that you think businesses should focus on?
I think businesses should really focus on platforms you actually already own. There's no point opening up something else and you're just going to get really, really confused. So whether it's your website, like Kadisha, or an email list, because like unlike Instagram or TikTok, you're not at the mercy of an algorithm or platform changes. Social media, I would say, is just great for visibility, but your core content audience should live somewhere you control long term. So that's what I think. Social media is a really, really big, crucial point. It's free as well, so why not? At the end of the day, that's you're future proofing yourself the end of the day, and it's free marketing. So a lot of people miss out on it. People just jump on a website sometimes and go, right, okay, I need a website, when they don't even have social media yet. So always focus on the free areas first before you start investing on ads or as I say, a website.
I would fully agree with you. I even say like in like points both of you have made in terms of the platforms you need to prepare from, say, from my point of view in terms of social media. I think, for the best kind of future proofing, the main thing you want to do at the minute is to look at your existing platforms, so whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, look at your existing platforms and make sure that they're solid and that you're consistently building on them, because even in terms of, user changes, we're now a lot more hyper conscious of new businesses appearing online all the time, that if you have solid branding across those existing channels, solid, consistent activity, that's going to help you build that brand loyalty, in the long run with, maybe potential customers that you didn't think of. I think even in terms of future proofing for social media, I think one area that I've seen is that many businesses will just jump onto every platform because they think that's what they need to do. But I think for the longevity, they need to think about what platforms that they already have, that maybe do they want to cut out channels that they're not using, that their audience isn't there, because then that's going to help them put a really good focus on the channels that are going to help them, target that audience, get the sales or the leads that they're looking for. But I think before say even with those additional platforms, I think one platform that gets overlooked an awful lot, and I think it's also as well because not many people consider it a social media channel, is YouTube, because not a lot of people know is that it's the second biggest search engine after Google. So if you don't prepare your content by putting keywords into your videos, descriptions and titles, it's just going to hold you back from, in the long term, maybe having content that's going to have a larger longevity in terms of lasting on the algorithms, but that's still long term appeal to new audiences. So I think there's a few things there that some businesses could probably take away in terms of what they need to prepare. Um, but I guess then after, say, looking at the actual platforms, I think another big hurdle that a lot of businesses have is in terms of creating actual content to use for it. So say, Brunel, in terms of content, is there any content you think maybe gets overlooked by businesses, or something that, or say even in terms of content, they should be focusing much more on for the long term?
Yeah, no, absolutely. From a lot of people that I've worked with, especially with clients, as we all know, they miss out on blogs. So this is something that is overlooked. Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it. That's why now, thankfully, we have some tools here that we could use, such as AI, in order to help us create the content. Since we have SEO tools as well to research those keywords, those, I would say, a blog is very, very important for a website. And it's a good thing that you mentioned YouTube as well, because that's something that could be integrated onto a blog, which is to embed a video. And guess what? That's going to keep the bounce rates very low. It means you don't have any high bounce rates. And again, that's just pretty much future proofing your website more than anything. So you don't have to overcomplicate a blog either. Like there shouldn't be a complete target goal where like, all right, I need to focus on having so many words on here and pack it full of keywords. That's a lot of people think, but it's more quality over quantity more than anything. So yes, sure, stick to about 800 words minimum. So you're not getting flagged and hit by SEO tools saying, oh, listen, you've got a couple of errors here and there. You've got low word count. So yeah, that's one of the areas. And then do focus as well on some of the pages on a website as well. So if it has a low word count and you see it's got a low word count, a lot of people also miss out simple pages like a contact page. Do you at least have 200 words there? No. If so, go ahead and add some content into that. A lot of people miss out on alt text images. There's another one. So that's the best way to future proof, I would say, a website, I would say, for content as well, especially.
I think that I would agree with you. I've seen websites before where you can tell maybe that they've wanted a minimalistic approach to their content, but they're not really thinking about same kind of thing as Kadesha said earlier, but Google being in their audience and Google looking for that content. And I think as well what you said about blogs, even blog content for social media, that's evergreen content that if you're ever low, so say for example, if you're low on your bank of content to use for new posts, blogs are a great way to fill that content gap, but also help drive traffic back to your website. And then as we know, you're going to get the added benefit with that, from the social traffic to your website, especially say, even for example, if LinkedIn is one of your core platforms, the added benefit it has of being a trusted website from Google, so if you're putting your blog content there and then linking back to your website, not only again have you got that content gap, but you also have then, that added SEO benefit. I guess just while I'm talking, in terms of like social media content, with planning for content for social media in the future, I think you also want to think about the lifespan that content has on different platforms. So say for example on TikTok, content can last a few minutes in the algorithm, whereas YouTube, like I've already mentioned, can last for over 30 days. So I think it's a good way to take a step back to look at what your kind of short term content is as well as your long term content. But what I would say, in terms of even planning ahead for future proofing content, I always think that when it comes to social media content, there's this kind of misconstrued thought of, if say for example at Christmas, if you're going to take a picture of your team at Christmas, that it has to be done on the day that you post, whereas it could be done weeks, months ahead even of time. If you have that free time to get that content created, why not create it and just put it away for the time? Because say if you've got your team Christmas jumper standing in the office, nobody's going to be able to tell that you took that at a different time of the year. A content calendar can really come in handy as well. um just being able to make notes of days like that you need to plan ahead for. But say, Kadesha, even in terms of like website content or anything, is there anything that you feel that businesses should, at least looking up content that's going to have a bit of longevity?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, you want to make content that's focusing on keywords, but I think now Google are looking at keywords kind of differently, and they're looking at things like search and optimizing content for search intent. So essentially, understanding why someone is searching for that particular term. And there's like, informational search intents, and like, what is technical SEO, for example, or something transactional, like I'd like to buy, or like SEO audit services near me, something like that. So it's really important for businesses to look beyond keywords and ask, "Oh, what do my potential clients want? Are they wanting to buy something? Are they wanting to get more information about something?" And then you'll kind of write your content or record your content, whatever content medium it is, based on that. Google are now looking at what makes a website useful, as opposed to, are they just matching the keywords that users are searching for? And that gets overlooked a bit as well. But you essentially want your website to be like a place of knowledge, essentially, like to kind of make you more like a key figure in the industry, to be like, okay,
Mm.
this website has a lot of information. This website is answering a lot of my questions. It's got the services that I'm searching for, and that all of that is making the website more useful to the user, and therefore ranking higher in search engines for Google. So you do want to figure out how to be a useful website and not rely just on like, clickbait titles, things like that.
I think, even say in terms of how audiences react to social media content, I think there is a much more larger focus, say, on like informational kind of content, like providing a solution to the problem rather than just be, thoroughly promotional. But even just while we're talking about social media content, I know that I could probably talk for a long time about how much video is reliant on social media. Like all the platforms love video now, but say, Brunel, from your point of view with like video and brand messaging, how do you think, businesses should look in terms of prepping that type of content?
Yeah. So as you say, video plays a massive role in brand messaging. That's something that I would say. Now, starting with long form, that helps you control the narrative and get your message right. If you break it into short form, that means you're consistently showing up across channels with the same core message. It's always best to keep a balance between both long form and short form videos. So, with again going back to the website, you're keeping all the long form videos. Like you could repurpose this content actually for the website and create blogs out of it. Whilst on your short form videos, you're trying to create that brand core message more than anything. So something quick, fast, and simple, especially with the way we watch videos nowadays. We're always scrolling past TikTok, we're scrolling past Instagram or YouTube Shorts or whatever, and you're just going past it. So you want to make it nice, snappy, and simple. Since I'm already on that sort of area, which is repurposing your content, I would say that also helps with future proofing your strategy, because not only are you relying on one format or one platform to carry the message, instead you're building like a flexible content bag that can be updated, reused, and adapted as platforms, algorithms, and audience behaviors evolve. It just keeps your brand very visible and consistent without having to start from scratch each time.
Well, I definitely think, say like even repurposing content, I think that's been something that's been done, for by large businesses, like even to pinpoint the fact that like the old animation process for Disney, they used to repurpose scenes from older movies to just add additional elements to change the character. So I think it's something that, like, like we've said, it's something that, has been going on for a long time. I think it's just now when you look at content, it's almost like, I think there's almost that feel that if it's not fresh, and it's not new, then it's not worthy. But at the same time, say like Brunel, like you mentioned, like blogs or even like older video content, you might not have had a chance to maybe read that blog or see that video the first time round. It's just giving you a second opportunity, then to potentially become a customer or a client for that business. But I know we've talked a little bit about, say, social media marketing and the website, but I think what we should also look at is other channels for marketing for businesses, because I think there are great, opportunities there. And I know, Renell, that we've discussed like email marketing before, and I think you also mentioned at the beginning of the episode in terms of how that's more of a long-term kind of solid, marketing platform. So say in terms of email marketing, is there anything else there you'd want to add into it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I always feel like this gets overlooked by some people for sure. Email marketing, because it can be scary, especially if you're starting off. But there are some platforms out there, such as Mailchimp, which allows you to was it 250 recipients for free, something like that. So, like this would be a good platform, email marketing, just because once you've already built up your audience, you don't have to rely on an algorithm, unlike social media platforms. You're directly speaking to your audience whenever you need to, especially if these are already customers or audiences that are already interested in the brand and have actually actively signed up to a newsletter or have signed up to your email marketing campaign. Again, going back to reusing content, it also allows you to keep reusing and promoting evergreen content whenever you want. So if you adapt it over time without starting from scratch, you'll see a trend. You'll see it build up over time, and it is a slow progress for sure. Email marketing, it's not. It's almost like SEO, isn't it? Because it's like a marathon in a way. Sometimes there's content there that's going to work, sometimes it isn't, but you should never give up on it because it is a solid platform to still use.
I think where the other added benefit of email marketing comes in is that, if you're only solidly, sorry, focusing on, social media marketing, you're not thinking about your audience that maybe don't like using social media or maybe aren't very tech savvy. But I know one question that I usually see a lot in terms of like businesses trying to grow their email marketing list is, what's the best way to grow it? So say like even on their website, is it better to have like a pop-up bar or have a solid unit, somewhere on the website for that? And Khadija, I guess that maybe goes for your opinion, say from your experience with, for say from, either using websites or, your experience building them, for say maybe an effective way to grow an email list for, say, for any business that was looking to do that, would you go for maybe a pop-up banner, or do you think the more kind of solid ones are the better option?
It just depends on how you use them. Pop-up banners are effective, like people do sign up, but you don't want them to be annoying. So good kind of practice around using like pop-ups, things like so you can sort of program some of them like when they are intending to exit. you can get the pop-up to show whenever they are intending to exit, and you get a little pop-up saying, "Oh, before you go, here's a little discount," or whatever for whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or if they scroll to a certain page where it makes sense to have a little pop-up, I think that's fine. You don't want it to become annoying. You don't want to have a pop-up on every single page or anything like that. But they are effective. Well-designed, clear ones offering something to the user, whether that's informative content, extra informative content delivered right to their inbox, or a discount code or something like that. They can be really effective. It's just all about how you use it, really.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the one thing I always find annoying about websites that have like a pop-up banner is if you can't see the X. So then, so far we've looked at why we should future-proof our businesses, the platforms, and the content. So the natural next question would be, what tools should businesses use to future-proof everything that they need? And I guess while we're maybe still talking about websites, Keisha, from your point of view for a website, what would be the kind of tools you would recommend to look into?
So if you take it right back to the beginning, like when you are first starting to build a website, if that's where you're at, then just looking at a platform, a CMS that's flexible, performance optimized, and SEO ready. You're looking for something that's fast and mobile optimized out of the box, which a lot of these web builders and website platforms are doing now. And they are offering more out of the box mobile ready solutions like Wix. All their templates are now very mobile responsive from the beginning. And you're looking for something that allows easy content updates without a developer. If you're not someone that's maybe not that coming from a technical background, you don't want to have to rely on another person to do basic updates to your website, whether that's content updates, updating the blog, things like that. And some examples, like for example, WordPress with a fast theme and maybe lightweight page builder can help you make updates to your website, but then also have a good kind of functioning, scalable website. Shopify as well is a great one for e-commerce, strong SEO options that are just built right in. Going on that, then afterwards, it's all about maintenance and using tools like GTmetrix, Google Page Speeds to analyze constantly your performance on your website, how fast it is, using analytics to see, okay, is my bounce rate really high? Why is it high? What have I done? Using tools like that to kind of continuously audit your website and keep it in check, because there's always going to be room for improvement, especially if your website is one that's being updated constantly with either new products, new content, new imagery, which it should be as well. You should be constantly updating, not constantly, but like at a good rate, at your own rate, update your website with new content, and then also just checking that it's not harming your website in any way, whether that's through performance or through some user experience issues.
Yeah, and I think just to even extend on your point there, I think another, I guess you would call a tool that, say, for that purpose, for like SEO and for the performance of their website, they should also look at like their Google My Business profile, just because Google has such a strong look in that now. So say even if it's just once a month, adding updates, adding images, or even just pushing for reviews, I think would work hand in hand with what you've said about about the website.
Honestly, I think people overlook Google My Business, because if I look for a business and they don't have, if I'm like searching for a business and I can't see their opening hours clearly, I'm gone. And it's such a simple thing. It's quite basic, but it's also it's something that's really useful to users, so it's good to have, and it's so simple to set up as well. But it comes back down to like making your business as useful to the users as possible. So yeah, it's a good chart.
Yeah, and I think even like I said, I think it's like you said, it's simple to use, but it's going to make you more useful for your customers and in Google's eyes as well. So then I guess I know we talk a lot about AI, and the tools that there are for AI are always kind of evolving. So I would probably, Renell, maybe just because I think you maybe have a wee bit more experience with AI than maybe I have. But in terms of say like AI tools, because I know myself, I get asked a lot, what tools should I be using to help me do different tasks? Are there any that you feel that would be good for businesses to use in the future?
No, absolutely. As I say, I'm all about free, you see. So I only look at the ones that are for free that, businesses can start off with. So ChatGPT, really, really good platform. You're able to set up different chats as well, chat channels. I always like to say, keep one for blogs, keep one for website, keep one for social media. Because I always tell people, treat it like you're talking to someone completely different. That's the way you should chat to AI. At least then you can get the results that you need. There's other platforms as well. The one that I like to mess about with is called Claude.ai. There's times where I've like really went into detail with it, going, or is there any way you can make it sound like really, really human with a twist of, using this sort of slang? So that's a really good one if anybody wants to try that one out. But of course, especially in 2025, there's so many different AI tools out there now. especially with Copilot really trying to push Microsoft really trying to push that out for their phones and computers as well. And then you've got Gemini, which is again getting distributed through those Google phones. Perplexity, even if you want to look at some uh, text generators or text image generators, which is like Leonardo AI, even Midjourney. So the reason why I would recommend to use these AI tools is number one, it's going to help you with your content creation. Number two, yes, it's also going to help you with your back office process. And number three, it's just really, really good for saving time more than anything. Like you can summarize documents within a matter of seconds. You can set it so you're looking at your strategy and your growth, how you're doing so far. You'll just see a massive improvement using AI. I always treat it like an assistant more than someone to like copy your homework off, you know what I mean, or cheat with. It's someone that's actually there to help and assist you along the way. So always treat that tool or that AI tool like that. And I can understand why people overlook it as well, because oh, AI robots and stuff, but genuinely, as long as you're using it for content, I think you should be safe.
I think that's a good way. And I would fully agree with you that I think AI, even say for social media, I think AI is a good support tool because I know myself that if I'm working on a content calendar and I've been maybe writing the same caption, it's nice to get a new kind of set of eyes to not give you a caption to use, but just to give you an idea of how you can rewrite it. And I think as well that, say like even with AI, it's becoming even part of the actual platforms themselves. So say
Yeah.
Meta Business Suite, the fact now that it uses its AI for, say, if you're creating an ad campaign, or even say in terms of when you're scheduling your content, it uses the AI to tell you for that week what were the best times your audience were online. But I would say probably, in my opinion, for say from a social media point of view, at least probably more so looking at the content side of things, the two main probably tools that I would recommend are, well, first of all, Canva. Whether it's the free plan or the pro plan, I just think what makes Canva great is that it's so user friendly. It's already preloaded with all the different size content that you need for different platforms, that you're always going to create content that is tailored to that platform. So it's going to be more effective. But say, we've talked a little bit about video content, and kind of like I mentioned earlier, video content, I don't think is going to go anywhere really with social media. The fact even that LinkedIn have brought in LinkedIn Reels now, the fact that shorts on YouTube are one of the most, say apart from probably TikTok, are one of the most popular short form content platforms, to look for. The other probably tool that I would recommend, and it's actually quite new, it's only I think out a few weeks at the minute, is Edits from Instagram. That's their new free video editing tool. But what's great about it is it's completely free. So it's not as if, you get it and then you have to pay for different components within it. But what's also great is that, similar to Canva with their AI tools, Edits have their own AI tools built into it that can help elevate your creativity, but also can give you different ideas for creating, or say like Renelle, like you said, repurposing old video content. So I would say from a social media content point of view, they would be my kind of two platforms I'd recommend. But I think, you say for Kadisha, like the ones you mentioned for the website, and Renelle, like with the AI tools, I think those are kind of solid ones that at least will meet the basics of what businesses need for, future proofing their content in the future. So then, now that we've looked at looking at the tools, I guess probably the next question that tends to come up a lot, maybe more so on social media, but you can both give me your insights on any other areas, are there any trends that businesses need to watch out for? So I guess, say from my point of view, I think, for social media, I think watching trends is something that is not just kind of like a one and done. It's something that you need to consistently keep an eye on, because say even using TikTok as an example of a platform, you could have a trend that's really popular this week, but by next week it could be old news. So there's trends that you have to kind of jump on. But like I said, I think video content is definitely where you need to focus on. So if you're a business or you're starting a business and you haven't ever considered video content, or maybe it's something you'll have a lot of now, what I would look for is, creating more video content, but also having a bit of a focus on more personalization and less of the generic kind of promotion, because that's not what audiences react to now. Like I said, say Kadisha, from say a website perspective, is there anything in terms of trends and design or anything that businesses should be aware of?
Yeah, when it comes to, I guess, with your website, you kind of want to focus on the performance, and it's not so much a trend. It is something that has always been looked at by Google, but it's just more and more important nowadays. And it goes back to being useful to the user. If you have, for example, slightly image heavy design, it's great for like the look of it, but those are usually the most slow loading websites are because they're not optimized properly. The images aren't optimized properly. And it goes back to, again, are you useful to the user? Is the user going to want to spend that long loading those images in, loading those assets in? So yeah, performance first design is just essentially you're prioritizing speed, mobile usability, and clean code before doing any other kind of like animations or any bloated kind of visuals. That's not to say that your website has to be really boring and static. It's all about getting the balance really, which can be really hard. Um, but you need to really look at it from a user perspective and test it as much as possible. Again, on mobile as well, that's the biggest test really you can do, is making sure everything is performing optimally on mobile as well. You can focus on, if you're using, for example, WordPress, and you're using and obviously you'll need to use a theme for WordPress. You can focus on using maybe lightweight themes. Always compress your images. Basic things like that. So Google is increasingly ranking sites by user experience. So that trend of making sure that your website is optimized for users to load quickly and be useful to the users, that's not really going to change. It might change in like how we do it, but that's always going to be something that's relevant and something that we always need to make sure whenever you are adding content, updating your website as well.
Yeah, I think they're kind of really good points. Even say like taking in consideration those core vitals, that you have those, even to the foundation of your website. Renelle, say from your point of view, are there any trends that you've seen, say in different areas of like whether it's platforms or marketing that you think that businesses should keep an eye on?
Absolutely. I'm starting to see a creep on voice search. Don't know if you guys agree with this, but search, I would say, should be integrated into websites nowadays just because, well, number one, it's a lot of people are asking questions on their phone like, okay, like what's the best digital agency near me? So I would say like this shift means that we need to optimize for natural question-based language and not just short keywords because that's another thing. Like you have tools now, like Alexa, like even the Google Assistant, and like AI chatbots like ChatGPT and the ones that I've covered there. They're all shaping expectations very, very fast for conversational answers. I would say if you're going to use voice search to future proof your brand, you need to make sure your content is very well structured to be easily understood by AI. Now, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, Kadisha, but schema markup, I think that's one area that needs to be looked at. FAQs as well. And I would say that you need to be very concise with the questions you have. Now, clear answers will always help. So yeah, I think it's not even just ranking anymore, isn't it? It's quite literally just it's those voice searches that take its place.
Yeah, I definitely think as well that voice search is on the increase, even on a personal level. I have a friend that refuses to type anything into Google now when they have the option just to talk into, say, directly into Google search, or using some like say ChatGPT or one of those AI platforms to do it. So I definitely think, Renelle, I think you're on to something there. Um, well, I think we've covered a load of great points in terms of future proofing. So I guess what we could do just to wrap up the conversation, to ask you both, and I'll give my own input as well, is that if there was maybe one piece of advice that you would give to any, say, existing business or starting business for future proofing their digital presence in the future, what would that be? Kadesha, if we don't mind, we'll start with you.
Problem. I think the best way to future proof your business is to treat your website as a long-term digital asset and not just like that kind of one-time launch kind of thing. That goes back to just keep doing the site audits, keep checking your analytics on your website. Is there any changes to your user behavior, things like that? And like that's really the only way you're going to know if there's a shift in how people are coming onto your website, how people are using your website, is to keep doing those maintenance checks. And again, using tools like G2 Metrics can really help. Google Analytics, GA4, they all tell you about user behavior on your website, and that's really important.
similar almost in a way, I guess, for my piece of advice when it comes to social media is that, say, for businesses who maybe aren't really using social media, especially if your core demographic or younger, younger demographics or younger audiences, they're looking to social media first to find the businesses that they want to build loyalty with. So, and like I mentioned at the beginning, ensuring that your branding is solid and you've got activity that's, that's consistent, whether it's, few times a week or just enough that someone could look at your profile and know that you're active. I think that's going to help build that foundation for you with that new potential customer. But I guess just to throw in another bit of advice I would have is, like I mentioned earlier as well, because these algorithms change all the time, you have to be willing to adapt, what you're doing at that point to be more effective in the future. And Renell, I'll maybe go to you for your thoughts.
I think your digital presence needs to evolve with your audience. That's my main point. So whether it's going to be your content, your email, or even AI, the key is always to be consistent with everything. You need to be strategic as well and just ready to adapt to your audience as well because everything's always changing, especially with the
Yeah.
fact that we had that shift on short form videos in 2025. Like we've done that as well, even 2024, starting to incorporate those short form videos and seeing a big spike, especially with the introduction of YouTube Shorts. So always adapt it. Of course, we can't tell the future, unfortunately, but if we were, always look ahead. That's the best thing to do.
Fully agree. Well, I think with that, I'll just thank you both for your time and let's see how the digital space transforms and changes in the future.